this is my third year of completing Inktober, so I'm going to go through all of my Inktober's from this year and tell you about my processes and things that I'm proud of and things that didn't work so well and hopes for the future. So last year I had the theme of Greek gods and goddesses, and I kept to that theme and it was really fun, and I feel like it gave me a lot of design constraints and just allowed me to kind of keep on the same track and have this continuity throughout all of them, and they were sort of a series, which was really nice. And with this year I decided to give myself a little bit of a broader topic, so I wanted to go off all creatures great and small, because, you know, I thought I can do monsters, I can do animals, I can do humans, giants, all sorts. So I just wanted to let my sort of mind run amok, and this was my first guy for Inktober. He is a guy with a moustache. I sort of envisaged him as a bit of an explorer, and he's got this little friend sitting on his shoulder. Last year I used coloured ink and paintbrushes, and I just decided that I wanted to try something new. Pro markers were on offer in my local hobby craft, so I was like, well, you know, it's a sign. So went and bought those, and I love the vividness of the colours. I think they're so bright, and a lot of my work is very bright, so I like things to stand out. I'm not one for being like a pale Jane or whatever. I just prefer vivid colours. I mean, look at my clothes. They're pretty vivid, aren't they? They're out there. So this was my first picture. I was happy with it. I don't like the way that I did the leaves with the fine liners. I like this little guy here because it's a bit more subtle, but I don't think it works so much when I go in and try and add like the stems of the leaves and the veins. Is that what you call them? Veins? Why not? So that was day one. So day two is one of my most favourite pieces out of the whole of Inktober. So I decided to draw this little derpy monster. I really like monsters and creatures that look like really cute and cuddly, but also look a bit stupid. Like, for instance, the chicken in Moana is just like my favourite character because it looks really cute but is also really stupid, and you're like, how are you existing? So I like to draw creatures like that and this is one of them. So I just kind of envisaged this boy having a battle. He's like his battle horse, and, you know, going into school or going wherever and, you know, being like, what up? You got a dog? I've got a blue monster with a crown. So that was my thinking there. There's no other like real explanation. So one thing with these Inktober's is I just, like I said, let my brain run amok. I didn't actually sketch much before I drew each of my Inktober's because I wanted them to be quite fresh and out of my head, and there were a couple of instances where I drew something that I didn't think would work, so I'd go and draw it out again. But with this one, this was the first thing that I drew and I ran with it. So yeah, I wanted to make the colours really vibrant. I've said this in my videos before, but I really love the combination of turquoise and gold. I just think they're beautiful and they're my favourite colour combination. So wanted to use that there. Also, I don't want to make all of my characters have white skin because that's not the world, and I want to be more racially diverse. So attempting to be racially diverse. Anyway, next one. So this one I also really like the concept of. So with my theme of all creatures great and small, I just wanted it to have like a bit of humour because I'd been having a pretty crappy month prior, and actually a crappy couple of months to be perfectly honest, and I just wanted a bit of light-hearted humour. I started to think about kind of cliche concepts, so like a princess kissing a frog and then it turning into a prince, and I thought, well, what happens if a frog kisses a princess? Which I suppose is a little bit like Princess and the Frog, but there we go. But anyway, this is what I came up with, and I quite like the execution. I like how smug the frog looks. I wanted him to look quite regal and just sort of like, oh yes, I suppose I'll kiss you. And the princess looks alright. Her face sort of went a bit wrong. It was alright when I did it with pro markers, but then I went around it with fine liners and it looked a bit dodgy. But you know, you live and you learn. But overall, pretty happy with this design. Next up, we have a dragon. So I wanted this dragon to be a lot more textured than it came out. You can't really see it. Hopefully you can see it in the detailed shots, but I was supposed to have like scales with a different coloured pro marker, but because I started with a darker pro marker, it meant that the lighter pro marker didn't really show up as well. So you have this kind of like subtle, curly sort of texture on the dragon, but it's fine, you know, like I said, you live and you learn. I just thought the dragon was cool, so I thought I'd keep the dragon. Nothing more to say about that one. Next up, we also have one of my favourites from Inktober, and that is a big sloth monster and being stuck in a lift with this big sloth monster. So the first thing that came into my head was being stuck in a lift with a huge monster, and a monster that you would question how they got in the lift in the first place or how they even got into the building. So this was what came out of my head. And originally I was going to make him turquoise, but I decided because my other monsters had been like greens and blues, I wanted to sort of make it a bit more of a creature colour, like a regular brown. So sort of made him into a little sloth monster, and the lady looks very concerned with her bag, like, oh god. So that was something to amuse me on that day. Hope you like it too. Next up, we have one where you question, is it a small car and a normal sized cat, or is it a big cat and a normal sized car? I don't know. I mean, I'm asking you the question. Do you know? Because I don't have a clue. Again, I drew this. I had an idea of like an abandoned car, and at first I wanted lots of sort of leaves and stuff coming out of it, and that's what I drew in my sketchbook. However, then I was like, where does the creature come in? Like, that's quite a cool concept with the leaves coming out and like having the mechanical side of a car with sort of botanical. It's like a nice contrast. But yeah, there was no creature. So I was like, you know what? I want to draw a big cat. So I drew a big cat, just chilling on a car. Lastly, but definitely not least of that week, I did a space whale. So some people have been asking whether this is underwater or whether it's just in space. It can be either. So originally I was gonna use coloured inks as well and like start spattering and things like that, but then I drew these little guys and coloured them in, and I was like, oh no, if I get spatters on them I'm gonna be really upset because I'm really happy with this little guy. I think he's cute. I quite liked the negative space and the white. So yeah, he's a space whale and these are little space fish, and they're all going on a little space adventure. So you may not know this, but I actually filmed 7 days worth, so a week's worth that I just showed you on my YouTube channel. So if you want to see me actually drawing those, then you can. I will put a link at the end of this video and you can just go have a gander if you want to. Now we are on to week 2. I've got a big pile in order. So this one was actually for Doodle Tube. So I've spoken about Doodle Tube many times. Go and look at any of the videos linked above or below because I'll explain a lot more there. But this theme, I believe, was Invisible Person. So all I could envisage was using negative space and having loads of beautiful colourful plants all around to kind of make that outline of a person. So that's what this is. And this is actually bits of coloured card because I was thinking that it was looking a bit flat, and I thought, you know, why not? Why not make some little glasses? So I'm really happy with this one actually, and it got some really lovely comments when I put it up. So yeah, I'm proud of this one. I think it's like a good expression of me as an artist. Yeah. Next up, we have another funny concept that came out of my head. So again, sat down and I thought how funny it would be if there was like this monster or like a space monster that could have like telekinetic powers and could transport people who were just minding their own business, having like an average day shopping or something, and could just make them appear on its hand. So that was this. So I just sort of imagined this guy just shopping, doing his weekly shop, and then all of a sudden appearing in a monster's hand and being quite shocked about it. So that's what this is, and yeah, I like the way this turned out. Next one, we have one that I'm also really proud of. So I was trying to think of using like a human profile similar to my first Inktober with the guy on his shoulder, and I wanted to do a girl version but also with creatures. So I sort of thought of like a modern or like a beautified Medusa. So this is like a friendly Medusa. She's pretty chilled, she's happy, she's got like snake necklaces and snake hair and a nice little flower crown. I just think she looks really cool, and I really like the execution of this. Really like it. I love the combination of colours. I like the way this turned out. Happy with this one. This one was also for DoodleTube, so I believe this theme was called It Came From Space, and the first thing that came to my head was space, obviously, and camels. So, stuck together, space camel. Why not? So yeah, I wanted to do a full like bleed image. One thing that I've tried to keep in all of these Inktober's is using the white of the paper as part of the background, because I think otherwise it looks a bit OTT and a bit too like oversaturated and the focus is lost with the image. So compositionally I'm keeping white in each one, if you've noticed that. So yeah, at the bottom here we just have like white, which is supposed to be a planet that he's walking on. We've got a lovely purple space scene with some stars, which I did with white ink. And yeah, just got some flowers, some plants, and a camel having a nice jolly old time. Next one, we have something that also came out of my head. So I sort of envisaged this huge derpy bug thing just appearing in like a regular town, and then one person really freaking out about it. So this is what this poor man is doing at the bottom. He's like, ah! And the little creature is just there like, hey. But I can't remember who said it. I think they said that there's like a look of deadliness in its eye, which I kind of agree with. So it's sort of like sinister and scary, but also quite cute. I like that sort of juxtaposition. I've done this like crappy vein thing with the fine liners again on this one, and I'm not a fan, but I do change my methods later on, so I'm letting myself off. Next one also had a really lovely reception, but I was trying to think of aliens that would try and sort of blend in with its surroundings if it was on Earth. And if like an animal could spot it, what would they look like? So this little guy has transformed into a pine tree and he's just trying to blend in. And this duck is just chilling at the bottom. But you know, is the little monster posing as a pine tree going to catch the duck? Or is the duck gonna spot that it's the scary monster and fly away? Is the monster even scary? We don't know. These are the questions that I ask myself on a daily basis. And if you want to know the answer to them, well, it's completely subjective. So that's the fun of it. Again, I've done this like horrible veiny thing with the fine liners, but yeah, like I said, it does change later on. Next, we have another turquoise monster. So this is a lady just walking with her dog, just minding her own business. And then this is a guy called Gerald, and Gerald just wants a friend, but he's a monster and people are scared of him. So we don't know how that's gonna go down, but the dog's already spotted it. He's like onto it. He's like, don't know whether I trust this big blue monster following us. That was that day. That's what came out of my head. And this was actually a picture that I drew in my sketchbook ages and ages ago, but I really like the concept of, so I thought I'd revisit it for Inktober. Next up, we have the same kind of concept with just walking in a park and then things appearing. So this is like some weird like tree leaf monster that's just appeared in a hole or like a puddle. And the lady is just like, whoa, what are you doing? Hello. So again, we don't know whether it's a nice one or a horrible one, but by its eyes and things, I feel like it's nice. It's a nice monster. I don't draw anything that's too scary. I like everything to have like soft edges and be really cute. So yeah, it's just a nice monster. And also it's got glasses, so its vision isn't that great. Okay, next one. Next one is kind of revisiting that whole car and cat concept that I was talking about earlier. So this is a huge cat with normal sized cars. So a bit like with King Kong or whatever, I sort of imagined if this huge cat just appeared in a town and what would happen. So it's sort of people either driving up it and being like, oh, this is a bumpy road, or people that are sort of stopped by it because it's in their path, helicopters like trying to deter the cat, and a plane which hopefully won't crash into the cat, it might just skim it, but yeah, so that's that day. I feel like these are really strange, but there we go. So this is a jelly monster, and I tried to imagine this kind of big jelly monster that was just a jelly shape, sort of trying to befriend humans, but then whenever it touches something, it absorbs it. So then I was thinking it would be funny if there was a guy in his boxers, just on his laptop in his house, having a chilled out evening or whatever, and then this jelly monster appears and like goes to shake his hand or touches him and then just absorbs him, and then this guy is just sort of like a bit shocked, like frozen in this jelly monster. So that was this idea, and I wanted the jelly monster to like be looking down into him, because this picture was supposed to be a lot more transparent, so I wanted it to have like a see-through quality, but it didn't really work. I used like a lot of pro markers in order to try and make it look see-through, and that just made it look worse. So I think this would work really well with watercolour or even digitally. But yeah, I really like the concept. I think the monster looks concerned. I love the expression of the guy's face, and yeah, pretty happy with that one. This one is just a guy going for a walk at his local park, and then this like face appearing on the grass and him being like, that's strange. So that's what all this is expressing. I like the colours and I like the expression of the guy, and I also like the use of the white space at the top and kind of the arch going through. I think that works really nicely, and yeah, quite like that one too. This one, I have no idea what it is. I think it's like a fish creature, but then he's also got like fields on him, and then weird like almost like a chicken or like a cockerel where they have those odd head things. So I don't really know what this is. I guess when I started drawing it, it looked a bit like a fish out of water, but then when I put grass and things on him and then this weird stuff, I don't really know. I don't know what this is. I think he looks quite cool, he's quite interesting, but I have no clue. No clue. Next, we have these aliens that are super shiny, and it's making this llama close its eyes because it's super shiny. I don't think there's like anything else to really say about this one. Yeah, I don't like how dark this image came out. Originally I wanted the aliens to be like a lot brighter and then the llama to be brown, so they all sort of contrast. Whereas I think they're all sort of blending into each other and it's not working as well as I'd like it to be. But you know, you live and you learn. I liked the shininess I've done, that was quite fun, and I went in with gold and white pens, so that was like a fun process, but yeah. Next up, I was getting really excited for Halloween, so I decided to draw a witch. So this is just a witch chilling on her broomstick with her cauldron and a little bat friend and a cat poking out. So this, fun fact, I was drinking some water at the time, and then a whole drop fell right on the cat's face and it just sort of went into a messy mush. So then I panicked and I got out my fine liners and started like drawing, which just made it into a bigger mess. And then it just sort of went into a smushy blob that I couldn't really fix. So the cat is a smushy blob, but that's fine, you live and you learn. The bat's alright, I think that's quite sweet. And I really like the witch's face. I think without the bat and the cat, it would actually look a lot better. But yeah, I'm happy with it. And also you don't see many ginger witches, so I wanted to bring that into the fold. So next we're coming to the last few weeks of Inktober, and I ran out of small paper. So I had to go out and buy some bigger ones, which was slightly wider size. So this is the size that I was working on, and this is the size that I now am working on. So this was for Doodle Tube, and oh god, what was the theme? I think it was something to do with the apocalypse. that was it, an apocalypse theme. I decided to do this like lady, which could be me, we don't know, just having like help from the elements. I really like the way that his hands turned out. Like he's got one hand where he's like, yeah, bring it, which I quite liked. I thought that worked quite well. Yeah, this was just like a playful one, but I think it's cool. My next few Inktovers were all sort of with the theme of all creatures great and small, but with a Halloween twist. So this little guy is a squirrel playing a bone xylophone because, you know, I thought that would be cute. So I started drawing a squirrel, and at first he was holding like a nut acorn xylophone thing, and then I thought, well, how is that Halloweeny? Like, that's not Halloweeny at all. So decided to transform it into bones. So I thought his face is really cute, and I really like the way this turned out. I think this would work as like part of a pattern or something. I think that could be really nice, so I might revisit that next Halloween. Next one is one of my favorites, and this was a snake. So I decided to try a method of using pro markers, like lots of bright pro markers, and just scribbling in the snake shape, and then going back over with my brush pen. And this had this really cool effect where it's black, but then you get the colours coming through, and I think it just brings something else to the picture. I think it's lovely. And then I used the same coloured pro markers for the plants because I thought that worked really nicely, and I like his little derpy face, he looks happy. And yeah, I really like the way that this one turned out. Next up, we have an owl sitting on a bone with like leaves coming out. So the owl has a little witch's hat, and I just thought it would be quite cute. This is what I was talking about earlier, where I've changed the way that I do leaves. So instead of doing like those horrible spiky stems or veins, I've done it in gold pen, which I think works so much better. It's far less in your face, it's a lot more subtle, and I just think it's nicer personally. And yeah, it's just him chilling on a bone and just, you know, having a nice time. This one is also one of my favourites, and one that received a lot of love, so thank you very much for that. So this is a wolf just howling at the moon. So this has got really lovely plants around it. I wanted it to have like the same sort of visual look to the rest of the Halloween ones I'd done. And I quite like the way I've done the moon and the way that his head is going up. The eye is actually a separate piece of paper that I cut out and stuck on because I tried to use my white pen, but it was going grey and it all just looked a bit murky and rubbish with his eye, so I wanted like a vivid white eye. This one is also one of my favourites in terms of execution. I think it's come out so well. Like, I honestly, when I drew it, I was like, oh my god, it looks like a digital piece. I'm just so happy with how this one like actually did. So yeah, this is just a white cat behind a pumpkin, and you've got the same kind of leaves that I was talking about earlier with the gold and the turquoise, the pink, the green, the purple. And this one I'd also quite like to make into a print, or perhaps make like a pattern with this one on, because yeah, I really like the way it's turned out. Next one, which I'm not as happy with, but I think is still cute, is we have a little witch cat with her little hat, rubbing a genie lamp and then a genie cat coming out. In terms of execution, this hasn't worked too well. I think I could have used the space of the actual picture better, but you know, it's okay. It's not too bad. I like the way I've scribbled the cat. Like, I really like using a brush pen quite scribbly, just because I like the texture that it gives it, and I feel like it gives it a lot more life rather than sort of filling it in fully black, but that's just my own preference. And the ghost cat looks quite sweet. I quite like the eyes, but I wish that I would have found like a better way of doing the cat, or like the ghost cat. I wanted to use more negative space, but I sort of went with this and then regretted it afterwards. But you know, live and you learn. Next one is some dancing vampires. So I sort of imagined like two characters being split in half and sort of merging into the other, but like mirroring what the other person is doing. So that's what this was a visualization of from my head. Yeah, and then you've got the plants around and everything. I think this would look quite cool on like a playing card or something, like a Halloween themed playing card. If I ever did that, then it would definitely have to be like cleaned up on Photoshop, but I'm quite happy with the design rather than the execution of this. So next, the penultimate one is also one of my favourites. So this is a little raven just chilling on a skull. So fairly morbid, but again, I like to make like, I guess, classic horrible stuff look nice and stylized, and I guess, what's the word? Like cuddly and accessible. Yeah, I like my stuff to not look scary. So this is using these leaves again. I think this is actually the best use of leaves. So I really wanted to have the plants like behind the skull and then have the raven on top of the skull to give you like a focus to the picture, and then this is also decoration. But I think that's worked really nicely. I like the way I've done the skull. I found like a stylized way of drawing skulls, which I'm quite enjoying, and I like the way the leaves are coming out of the skull. I think that works quite well too. I think this would also work quite nicely as a print. And the eye is the same method as the wolf previously, where I've cut out a piece of paper and then stuck it on. So. And the last one, so this one was using the same method as the snake, where I scribbled a load of colours into the cauldron shape and then went back over with a brush pen and just like scribbled like la 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 la, and then you get this lovely coloured effect on the cauldron. I've done a little mouse here. I think he's super cute, but he was actually an addition that I added like much later on after doing all the plants, because I got way too involved in drawing of plants because I find it quite therapeutic, and then I was like, oh crap, there's no creature, so added a little mouse. Yeah, I think the plants have worked really well. I like the shape of the cauldron, and again you've got the combination of turquoise and gold, and that is the end of my Inktober. My goodness, that is quite a few. I've just got like a pile of paper by my feet now. So thank you so much for watching this if you sat all the way through it. Blimey, that was quite an adventure, wasn't it? It was like quite long, but I feel like, you know, this Inktober I've learned a lot. So thank you so much for watching this if you sat all the way through it. Well done you. And if you would like to see my Inktobers in all their glory, then you can go onto my Instagram and they're all on there. There's also a few on my Twitter as well, so if you want to have a look, then feel free. Please give this a like because this is a very long video and I'd love to know if you liked it. Also, let me know if you took part in Inktober because I love checking out other people's Inktobers. I was constantly on the tag, finding new artists to follow. Yeah, thank you so much for watching and I will see you next week. Bye!